that's what keeps me inspired to do this in this space. The fact that I can create something that's never been done before, kind of like my music. You know, I can create something from here and it becomes this, and people see the same vision that I seen when I created this. They understood it in the same way that I understood it when I created it. They knew that they needed this the same way that I knew I needed this. And that to me, that's innovation. That drives me, that inspires me, whether it's through making a new record that people fucking sing to the top of their lungs, or, you know, creating a new app that people want to use to help, you know, monetize their content.
Today, we're talking with Ja Rule, recording artist, entrepreneur, and writer. He's the head of artists and repertoire at Flipkick and co-founder and investor at the ICONN App. Today, we'll be talking about Ja Rule's journey from #1 selling recording artist to tech entrepreneur and how he's helping to give back control to music artists. Just quickly, before we get started, make sure to go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you get the latest episodes as soon as they're released. Now, let's get into it. Welcome, Ja.
Hey, thanks for having me, man, for sure.
Pleasure, man. Now, before we get into it, I have to ask, how did the battle with Fat Joe go yesterday? Because from what I can see, it was a real success.
Yeah, I had a good time, man. It was a good battle. Versus it's a very, very unique platform where artists get to showcase their passion for music in a different way, you know, which was really cool. And I got to do it with a friend and a good brother of mine. So it was definitely a different experience, but I loved it.
Yeah, I checked it out, and it was just fantastic stuff, man. Fantastic content. I loved the production. Got a lot of exposure across the socials. So it was cool.
Yeah.
It was cool. Yeah, but let's get straight into the podcast, yeah? So you were the #1 selling artist for years and years and years, and then you transitioned into tech entrepreneurship and so on, right? What was the biggest challenges that you had to overcome in that transition?
I think everything comes with a learning curve, right? So I think that was the hardest thing for me, was learning, you know, about tech and Bitcoin and, you know, still learning about NFTs, still learning about, you know, these decentralized markets and economy, you know. So yeah, it's the learning curve for me that I think is really the most important thing, and what takes the most time and what needs to be the thing you focus on the most. And so, yeah, that for me, it's the learning curve.
How long did it take you, you know, to learn these things, right? Because, you know, like you come from one space and you've got the fame and you've got the success and you've got all the learnings and you've done the grind, you've done the work, and now it's kind of rewarding you. And now you're going into another space again, and you're almost having to start again almost, right? And so how long did it take?
You never quite learn it all, right? There's always something new to learn, you know, something new to add to it. So it's an ever-evolving thing, which I enjoy. And I think that's part of creativity. You know, creativity is an ongoing thing. You know, I may start a record and create one verse and decides it needs 2 more verses, or decides it needs a female voice on it, on the hook, or, you know, I may decide to take this verse off and it needs somebody else's voice in there. It needs to be a feature, you know. So this is like the same thing how I see, you know, crypto and NFTs and all of these great new ways to invest. It's the same way for me. I see it the same way. It's ever evolving. It's ever growing. And I get to be very creative in the space where I get to add things and you know, like take something like ICONN, for example. You know, ICONN started as one thing, as me wanting to be able to solve a problem to book talent, you know, in a very, you know, easy way. And it branched out into a lot of different things. You know, now we have live streaming and you can monetize your content and all kinds of great stuff like that. So that's what I love about this space. It's ever evolving. It doesn't get stale. It keeps your mind, you know, in tune and fresh, and you got to keep your knife sharp, you know. So I enjoy that. I'm a guy that likes to keep moving, so this is a perfect space for me because it's rapidly moving.
Yeah, the one thing I found, because I've been like in the business space for like 20 years now, right? And what I've found, the one thing that's so good about business is you're only limited by how creative you think. There are no rules. There are laws, but there are no rules, right? But there's no kind of like one way. And oftentimes the way to succeed is a way that kind of hasn't been done before. And so like I love your point around how the creative kind of side of things kind of connects with you, because that's the part which I love as well. It's like, cool. So how well can you think about this problem? So what are all the possible ways which you can approach this same thing? Who could you leverage and how could you leverage them? It's like, it sounds like, that kind of side of like your music skills have now been transitioned into the business side of things. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, it kind of goes hand in hand. I can relate a lot of things from, my music, even going further back, to my hustling days and but I can equate certain things to that and relate it to what's going on in the business world and so forth and so on, because it's kind of, everything just kind of comes full circle. You can kind of take little bits and pieces here and put them here and make you a good little pie here, a good little put your puzzle together properly. And that's what I do. I try to take my street knowledge and walk it and use it in my business world too. And it creates a different type of savviness for me,
Yeah, for sure. And like oftentimes, like I speak with people that are excellent at one thing and they talk about, they stay in their lane and they have a team around them that can kind of support that. Yeah. And so what does your team look like, or like what are the people or the kind of roles around you that kind of help you to drive that success?
Well, one of my rule of thumbs is try to keep people that are way smarter than me around me. That way they make me look smart.
That's a good rule.
So
Steve Jobs had that rule too.
Like my wife, she's brilliant woman. She makes me look smart every day. And she just brought me a glass of wine. Yeah, I'm just really happy and interested and excited to be a part of everything that's going on with this new NFT space and cryptocurrencies and, blockchain. It's all very exciting stuff.
Okay, let's jump into that then, right? Okay, let's talk about NFTs, right? For the people who don't fully understand NFTs, like, are you able to quickly explain, how you would describe NFTs?
NFT is stands for non-fungible token, but it's for me, it's a sense of ownership of something that is digital. And the way that they do that is by cryptographically, authenticating these digital works of art through the blockchain. And I know that all sounds like a bunch of mumbo jumbo, but the best way I can describe it is to put it in layman's terms, maybe simplify it a little bit, is think of it as like, it's kind of hard because it's its own thing, to kind of explain. But there are things similar, but not quite like. So maybe you could take trading cards kind of and put that into some type of understanding of what it could be, but not actually, because, the artist or the owner doesn't get paid in perpetuity for the resale. And so that to me is really what makes NFTs such a dominating force right now and so intriguing to everybody and to so many artists, because they can be paid in perpetuity for their art. And I think that's important.
Okay. So, one application of NFTs is kind of the ability for artists to get paid the equivalent of like a royalty.
Like a royalty, yes.
And from some of the interviews I've seen you do, you talk about kind of the challenge the music artist has trying to get paid these days, right? Like, especially with like the Spotify's and the Apple Music's all on subscription, that it's so low. Could you talk about that challenge and kind of how it's changed in the last 10, 20 years? Because I remember 20 years ago, there was no social media. There was kind of hardly ever but the internet was just starting. So it was a completely different game. And so kind of how has the game changed, for the aspiring artists out there and the successful artists in the last 10, 20 years?
The one thing I will say is it's changing for the better.
Okay.
That's the one thing I will say. I think 10 years ago, the music industry felt like it was a dying industry because of MP3s. And now I think it's come back around and now streaming is becoming a big part of, how artists make their money. Not as big as touring, but it's also created a new revenue stream, which is amazing for the artists. And it's also, with the new technology and just being able to go on a SoundCloud or Apple for for instance, on your own, it gives the artists their own freedom and their own power back in the sense that they can own their works. And that's important. The money's in ownership. And if you don't own your art, if you don't own your music, if you don't own your films, if you don't own, then you're not making the money you should be making. Is really the point. Is this the point? And your family won't be able to enjoy the fruits of these great works. So ownership is key, and that's why blockchain and NFTs are really cool.
And so, from the music point of view, right? So. Let's say I'm an artist, right? Cool. So I've got the album, the songs, the singles, and I've uploaded them or kind of however it works to Spotify or to Apple Music or to SoundCloud. And I'm getting some exposure for that, right? But that's not really going to change the game for you, is it really? Because it's such a small percentage and the volume is so high, right?
Yeah.
But so then, so what are the ways that artists can make money then from that? Like you talked about the touring kind of side of things. So what are the
touring is the biggest way for artists to make money. That's their biggest revenue stream. But if you're a big artist and you're getting millions and millions and millions of streams because it has to accumulate, and that, is sort of way for you to really make money. But if you're a big artist and you're doing that, you're making good money off the streams. You should be making more money off the streams, but you'll be making good money. And that just wasn't a revenue stream that was available 10 years ago. And so you still have your old ways of distributing your music, which, can be through MP3. Well, I wouldn't say the old way, because only other way is vinyl these days. There's no CDs, there's no anything. But when you put your stuff on Apple Music and stuff, it kind of has the feel of when you purchase it, like a ownership, like you own it as an item. But that's kind of what NFTs are. It's owning something on a digital ledger that's, yours.
Okay. So let's say that I'm an artist, right? So what are the kind of things I can put basically onto the blockchain as an NFT that I can start to make some money from or some royalties from?
Yeah, it can be anything. Music, it can be art, it can be film, clips. People are really expanding what an NFT can be. At Flipkick, what we do physical NFTs, and it's just an amazing process that we're able to authenticate physical works for artists, and now they can get paid, a royalty forever and ever, and their families can eat. So it's all new. We're all kind of wrapping our head around what the fuck is going on. But I think it's
Me too, by the way. I'm still, because I get blockchain. I get Bitcoin, like I got some Bitcoin, some Ethereum and all that jazz. But NFTs is this new thing. It's like where you own the digital rights to something, and that actually means something in terms of ownership.
Well,
and there's only one.
When you go further down the NFT rabbit hole, you'll find, things like community and utility and a different sense of ownership, almost like a country club membership type of thing,
What do you mean by that? I'm interested because I haven't heard that before.
So if you've ever been a part of any of these PFP projects, like Bored Ape Yacht Club or CryptoPunks or RumbleKongs, which I love very much, or there's so many of them. The Degens, I am Degen, I like those guys too. But you become part of these clubs, and it's kind of like a country club for investment. It's like a really cool country club for a nice investment group of whoever owns this particular project. And it's almost like you become a part of these clubs, and the object is for everyone inside the club to get rich and make each other, successful through being a part of this thing that we're all part of. So, like I said, once you go down the rabbit hole, you'll discover community, you'll discover utility, and it's a really cool thing when you go down that rabbit hole.
And I'm really trying to unpack this also for all of the music artists out there, but also just for the audience. It's just trying to understand what the hell, like how do NFTs work and why are they so popular right now, right? Because it's such a trending topic right now. Like everyone's talking about it. It's like a gold rush right now, and I don't think people actually fully understand it. I think there are a few who do, but I don't think that the majority actually fully understand it, right? So everyone's trying to find their way through. You talked about Flipkick that gives that basically sells NFTs, but for kind of the physical side of things, right? How does that actually work? So what do I do? Like I go to Flipkick, I purchase something, and what? Like it's kind of backed by something that is stored somewhere? Like how does it work?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can buy the NFT, which will be backed by the physical item. So you can redeem the physical item at any time with your ownership of the digital. And then obviously we burn the digital, and then now the ownership is now the physical thing. So it's just a really dope way of letting artists have their physical works on the blockchain as well.
So have you got stuff on the NFT space? Like let yourself? Have you sold stuff through NFTs?
I've got a few projects that I've been working on, like my club cards. It's on OpenSea. You can check those out. With my guy Josh and me and my partner Black, we have a metaverse line called Stone and Robert, where you can get metaverse wearables, real cool, hip hop cultured metaverse wearables. We're the first of our kind.
Awesome.
We make a lot of cool shit. So we're doing that. I'm doing a lot of stuff like that, and just enjoying the space. I've actually had a chance to get some land in the sandbox. So we're building the iconic Garden Arena in Sandbox Hill Road with all my investment crew, my guys. So it's a lot of fun stuff going on, a lot of exciting stuff going on in the tech space, NFT world.
Yeah, and just for the listeners, like if you don't know or if you haven't heard about the metaverse, search it on Google. It's a whole world that is in the virtual space, and there's companies like Louis Vuitton, I think, that have got stuff going on in there, like Marc Jacobs. Like there's so much stuff that's going in the digital space right now, and I think absolutely the blockchain is underpinning the currency, the way people can actually transact, within this space. And most people haven't heard of the metaverse. I mean, I only heard about it 6 months ago, and I was like, "What's this metaverse thing?" And I just kind of started to get into it. I was like, "Damn, there's a whole world out there in the computer."
Yeah, there's a whole world in the computer,
and there's money in there too.
There's a lot of money in there, and we'll be doing some concerts at the iconic Garden Arena. Maybe we'll do a versus there. First versus in that arena.
Yeah, because I heard I forget who it was, but there was an artist that did a show in the metaverse, and there was like 15 to 20 million people that turned up, right? Like, that stuff's not going to happen in the real world, right? No. Do you know what I mean? And that's something. That's something interesting. And I think between the blockchain and music, metaverse, NFTs, streaming, it kind of can get complex these days for music artists to really know how to focus their efforts, right? And so what advice, would you give them in terms of how should they be thinking about this, right? Because I'm sure they're listening and going, that all sounds cool. Should I just go into the metaverse? Is that the first thing? Or what should I do? Should I just get some NFTs?
I don't have any good advice to tell anybody. I'm like I said, I'm still poking holes around, trying to figure things out myself. My advice that I would give is to, take a look at it, get involved, start learning, of what's going on. Don't be left out. Don't be late to the party is the advice I would give.
Yeah, because to be first, it's like, everyone can probably relate to the people that were there first with Instagram. They got all the followers because all the algorithms and there were all the hacks in the beginning, and they got like an unfair advantage. Same with TikTok. That's the same thing. Like everyone that was there first, they got the exposure, and now everyone's trying to get onto the bandwagon, but that bandwagon's full, and it's just way harder to break through right now. So I think that's a really good piece of advice. What about like distribution these days, right? Like how do you get exposure? Now, obviously, like I saw that, and I spoke about it before about the Fat Joe thing that like you did yesterday. That's obviously fantastic for exposure. Like, is it those kind of things that artists should be doing these days to really kind of push exposure, just for their music?
Yeah. Yeah. All of those things are great exposure. Versus has become this huge, humongous platform for artists where you can go and do these shows, and it has a real effect on how people see you and your artistry because you have a chance to showcase it in such a big fashion. So, I'm really impressed by what they've been able to do in such a short period of time with Versus and the reach that they get and the impact that it makes. I'm also looking to do something not the same, but similar on my ICONN platform. It's called Vibes. And it's a concert series where, big artists, iconic artists do their classic albums from front to back and kind of tell the stories behind the music with a live band and then release it as a live album. So, these things are just new ways, I think, of, experiencing music and art, and I think these will be the new ways. These will be the main ways of experiencing music and art in the future. And
so, yeah, that's a fantastic point. So you're really talking about platforms, right? So, for artists to leverage existing platforms that kind of already have audiences and try to maximize their audiences essentially, right? Because it's hard to create the audience from scratch. That stuff's expensive. That stuff can be challenging. That stuff's complex. There's all these types of things, right? You talk about the ICONN app. That sounds like that's a platform as well, right? So could you just quickly talk about the ICONN app and kind of, what's the problem it's trying to solve and how does it work? ICONN app is amazing, man. We're trying to allow content creators to be free and create whatever content they like to create, but also be able to monetize it, charge for the live streams or pay-per-view events or, DJs can get tips, while they're DJing on the platform and in real time. A lot of different things like that, meet and greets. Like if I do a concert and I virtually, have it as a pay-per-view concert, you can also buy the meet and greet package and get, a few minutes with me backstage virtually as well. So, all of those types of things are really cool things that that are already built into the platform. But of course, it's expanding. We have the book now button where you can, book me for my time, so to speak. Time is money, and each artist can offer their packages of what they, offer their time for. So there's really cool stuff like that. And so you're creating the platform. And so on one side of it, it's already created. It's in the App Store right now. Yeah,
go get it. ICONN2ns.live.
And of course, that's available on both iPhone and Android.
Not on Android yet. We're working on Android now, but iPhone, iOS.
Yeah, look, I'm a bit more biased because I love Apple, and I've got all the Apple stuff, so I've got it already. So that's really good. I highly recommend that that people check it out. But you seem to really be doing a lot for the music industry. You're trying to create places, for artists to just take control of their art and to have a way that they
everything
can get
everything I create is for us, by us. It's things that I felt I wish I would have had when I was a young artist to help me, in my way. So, ICONN is going to expand in a lot of different ways, to music, to original content, all of those great things. So stay tuned. Even NFT marketplace I've been working on for ICONN to display NFTs, what I call motion pictures. So you'll see it soon. You'll get to check it all out. We're working.
You've done a lot over the last 20, 30 years, right? And I'm sure
but not enough. Not enough.
I mean, who's ever done enough? I mean, maybe Elon Musk is going to Mars. Maybe he feels, but I don't think he thinks it's enough yet, right?
I still don't think he's done enough either, right? Yeah.
Nah, same, right? But so what are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned, through that journey? Because that's a journey and a half, right? What are some of the biggest lessons?
Lessons, one of the biggest lessons I would say I learned along with be yourself, always present yourself and be who you are. That way you sleep well at night.
It's hard sometimes though, right? Because everyone thinks that they should be something else. Oftentimes, in the beginning.
Actually, it isn't. Actually, it isn't. It's really, really simple. Be who you are and be accepting of others, but also be thoughtful of the fact that people don't always have to accept you. And that's very key because, it's hard for people to accept or let somebody into their world, and open up to them in the same way. It's a relationship that has to grow. And so, these are the things that I try to work on as I become a better businessman or a better entrepreneur. Like I said, the learning curve on all of this shit is the biggest thing. It's the elephant in the room. How much do you know about what you do?
How do you approach that, right? Because obviously that's huge, right? It's like, hey, look, I'm going to go make an app. I've never done an app before, But how do you approach that? All right, cool, I'm going to have to go into this now. But what's your process?
Well,
how do you go about it?
I have a real loose approach on this. I have a vision of what I see and what I want. And sometimes they're very big and vast. And, a lot of times my team has to say, Ja, we don't either have the money to do that or that's probably literally fucking impossible to do. But I like those answers because it lets me know that I'm thinking of things that people haven't thought of. So in my eyes, everything can be done. It just takes time, effort, and some money, of course. But that's what keeps me inspired to do this in this space. The fact that I can create something that's never been done before, kind of like my music. I can create something from here and it becomes this, and people see the same vision that I seen when I created this. They understood it in the same way that I understood it when I created it. They knew that they needed this the same way that I knew I needed this. And that to me, that's innovation. That drives me, that inspires me, whether it's through making a new record that people fucking sing to the top of their lungs or, creating a new app that people want to use to help, monetize their content.
So you're a visionary leader, right? You've got the vision, the direction, and then you leverage your team of people who can kind of
bring my vision to life through,
and just kind of that's the path that you go. How do you because this is the hard one and this takes years. This took me years anyway, but how do you choose who you have around you? Because obviously there has to be a good trust there now, right? For you to be able to say, cool, here's my vision. If you tell me no, I need to listen to you because I trust you. So how do you, so what do you look for in people that you have around you?
You hear all these fucking sayings, trust no one and, be careful who you trust and all these type of sayings. But I happen to think differently. I happen to believe that you allow people to be who they are, and they will appear. I don't think you can look at everybody with the lens of non-trust and think that you're going to get trust from that. I think you have to, go into a situation with trust. And if a person is distrustful, they'll show up eventually. So I allow people to be who they are. because, like I said, they will arrive eventually. Who they really are will arrive, you know?
Yeah, that's the same. Like I found kind of something similar, right? Like I've been burnt so many times, but I still have a heart that trusts, and I still think the best of people, and I give them a chance. But I've gotten better at seeing the little things that are the little alarms.
You got to have a little spidey sense with it, you know, and try to, you know, sort through the bad apples. But it's tough. It's tough living like that. It's tough living with the thought of everybody's trying to fucking do me wrong. Everybody's trying to, you know, it's really, I've lived both sides of that. I've lived with that mentality that everyone is after me. Everyone, you know, you got to be careful. You got to be guarded because everyone wants something from you. I've lived with that, and it's not fun. It's you know, it's draining to me mentally because I'm always thinking this person, you know, or you know, I don't want to do that. And so I had to start looking at it on the other side of it and say, you know, listen, allow these people to become who they are. If they're distrustworthy, if they're not trustworthy people, it'll come to light. It'll come to fruition. And I think I have a good enough now at my 45 years of age. I think I have a better gauge of people, you know, and you know, from the beginning, I can gauge people a little bit better, I believe. And so I believe that the people that I bring around me are trustworthy people, are good people, because I've made this, you know, assumption, this analysis by, you know, dealing with them or whatever. And now I feel like, you know what, so I feel like I have a little bit of a good sixth sense and a little bit of a feel of, you know, who are good people and who are bad people. I try to stay away from the bad people and keep good people around me. And that, when I say good people and bad people, I don't know what the fuck you do in your spare time. You know, I'm talking about energy.
Yes.
You know, people that have half glass full energy versus half glass empty energy. You know, because those are the things you look for. You know, just people with that type of upbeat spirit, because you know they're always gonna, no matter the situation, no matter what's going on, they're gonna find a solution. You know, they're not gonna, you know, dangle on the problem, but they're gonna find a solution or help find a solution. And that's what you want. You want positive people, positive minds, positive thinking.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point. And I love that thinking. But
you got to keep a couple of negatives around too. You know what I'm saying?
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? Not just yes people?
You got to keep a bunch of people that see the glass half empty.
Oh, yeah.
Because they help make sure that the glass is always full.
Because they help to make, how do they help to make sure?
That the glass is always full.
But how? Because they're always thinking of the downsides, and then
because they're always
them?
Thinking of the downside. So if I'm thinking of the upside, and I have a few people thinking of the downside, we can't fail, or we shouldn't fail. The glass should run off. It should run over, run a folder.
Yeah, exactly right.
The cup should run a folder over if we come together the correct way. So you know, you got to keep a couple of those thinkers around too.
Yeah, like I've been in environments where everyone's just optimistic and it's like, and no one's thought of the possible risks or the downsides. It's like, oh damn, we had someone there at some point to go, hey, did you think about that?
Yeah.
It's like, someone didn't think about that. Yeah.
And it's not that what you got to understand and appreciate about those type of thinkers is, it's not that they're thinking negative about the problem, but they're thinking through the whole problem. While you're thinking of how great it can be, they're thinking of what happens if, and then now we know how to pivot, and that's important. You know what I mean? That's very important.
So you've been at this now for a while, right? Like I talk to lots of people that are starting out, like all stages of their business, and even just for myself, I found that, you know, the one thing, like I wouldn't say I'm the smartest, I wouldn't say I'm the most intelligent, like I wouldn't say I'm the quickest, but I'm relentless. I'm persistent, and I will never quit. Yeah. You know, how important has that been for you?
It's very important. I put my whole life on that, because if, you know, there's no Ja Rule if I'm not persistent, if I'm not, you know, overly confident in who I am. You get 1,000,000 doors slammed in your face.
Still,
it's
right?
That 1,000,001 door.
1,000,001.
That's the door.
Right.
And so you gotta push through. You gotta be persistent. You gotta keep moving. Keep your legs running like a running back. Keep your legs moving like a running back. You gotta do those things, and you have to think that way. And it comes with a real confidence that you have to have in your abilities to overcome. And that's everybody doesn't have that. Everybody doesn't have that. Everybody thinks they're ready for the fight until they get into the fight.
Yeah. Is that Mike Tyson's statement, right? It's like everyone, I was ready for the fight.
Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Yeah. And that's absolutely correct.
Yeah. And so, like, when things are hard, how do you get through that, right? Because that's when most people quit, right? Is when, like, it's like, like, I'm persistent just when things are good, and then it gets hard, and it gets hard for long, and then they quit, right? And so how do you stay with it? Yeah.
It's a little mechanism that I have, and everybody needs this mechanism, but it's not easy to have. It's called I don't give a fuck. Everybody needs a I don't give a fuck switch that they can turn on and say, I don't care what this person thinks. I don't care what that person thinks. I don't care what anybody thinks about. I know what I'm capable of, and I'm going to fucking do it, prove it, show it, whatever the case may be. This is my fucking superpower. My superpower is that I believe in me more than anything in the fucking world. I have supreme confidence. That is my superpower. And for me, it's very important. I try to instill that in my kids. Believe in yourself. You can do it. Put your mind to it. I don't like the word I can't. From the time they were little kids, I told them, don't say that word in this house. It doesn't exist here. I can't doesn't exist here. You either do or you don't.
That's it, right? And I love how you said that. Like, I love the I don't give a fuck switch, right? Because, like, I think I've got that switch. And I think, because, like,
you have to have it.
To create something that is above and beyond the norm, that is extraordinary, you cannot listen to what people tell you is possible unless those people are people that have achieved something extraordinary. But those people won't tell you can't do something. They will that's a whole other conversation.
Listen, I love this Jay-Z line. He says in one of his records, everybody want to tell you how to do it, but they never did it. It's the most craziest shit. Everybody has advice on how you should live your life, how you should do this or how you should do that. Well, why is it not working for you if it's so simple? Don't tell me things that you have not experienced or that you haven't lived through to tell me that I should live that way or go through it.
That's huge, right?
It's just not believable. It's just not something I would do.
Yeah, that's an awesome point. One more question. What's next for you, right? Because like I can see the music's happening. You got the NFTs, you got the app. I can see it's all connected in some way. What's the vision for the future for you?
Man, I'm about to get into a couple of new projects, especially the music stuff. And I'm going to do something really cool with Mint Music Mondays. And I'm going to start, I feel as though my music is art and it should be released as such. So I'm going to release it as art projects now as NFTs and own my music and give people a chance to have a piece of my legacy and ownership as well, which is cool, And so we're going to do this a little bit different than the regular distribution process. And we're going to release my music as NFTs from here on out and see how that goes.
Where can people, be part of this,
Well,
sounds good. I quite like the Music Mondays. I will support it just to support it.
Yeah,
I'm going to
do it
as well, by the way.
I'm going to start it on OpenSea.
Okay.
But then eventually it'll move to ICONN once the platform is built out to hold that type of situation.
Yeah, perfect. And this is something I ask every person on the podcast. But if there was one thing that you want the listeners or the viewers of this podcast to do, a site to visit, a place to go, something to do, what would you like them to do?
Go to icon.live, baby. 2 N's, icon2ns.live. Create you a page. Follow me, Ja Rule, on there, man. And it's a magnificent platform. We just started. We get growing. We're growing right now, and we got about 5,000 users. So early adoption is key. Get in there now, and like you said, get the early algorithms so you get your followers up early, quick. And we're gonna blast off really. It's about to blast off heavy. We got some really cool shit coming down the pipe. So get in now before this is too late.
And for the listeners and the viewers out there, you can see that that Jar is taking some big steps right now, from music to NFTs to the app. So start now. Like you heard the thing before about, like, if you start kind of early on, you get the unfair advantage. So start now.
Yeah,
Jar,
and check out Flipkick, man, and get some of those original live physical NFTs.
Yeah, for sure. Jar, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's so good to speak about, like, your
Thanks for
journey,
having me, man.
your thinking,
For sure.
you know, the mindset and all the things that you're doing to help the music industry, right? Like, because it's a complex space these days, right? It's not just create music and let it go, right? So thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing your journey today.
No doubt, man.
Awesome.
Talk soon, baby.
Thanks,
Much
man.
love.
Yeah, peace.
All right.
Thanks for listening to the Growth Manifesto podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, please give us a 5-star rating on iTunes. For more episodes, please visit growthmanifesto.com/podcast. And if you need help driving growth for your company, please get in touch with us at webprofits.io.